Hi Brandon, Amy here. I just wanted to get you some feedback on your rough draft of the campaign analysis blog. Since you didn't get a review from anyone on your rough draft in the workshop discussion for last week, I know it's short notice and so I apologize since this is due tonight at midnight, but I did want to get you some, at least a little bit before it was due. I think I read your reflection in the discussion for last week, and I think you're aware that you are still you still have a little bit of a ways to go with this rough draft, and so some of this stuff you might have already addressed as you've been revising this week, so forgive me if some of this you already know. The first thing I'll talk about just though is the formatting. I noticed you're typing your header in at the top of the first page on the first line here. That is actually not the appropriate way to do your header, so I would just delete that, and then you can actually double click in the top inch or so of the page and it will open up a header and footer toolbar, and you can see that all the way to the left there is a page number button. Then you want to select top of page and all the way to the right, and then you can type in your last name and it will put everything in that top inch and make the page numbers consecutive for you so that it doesn't take up space at the top of your essay. You can also get rid of the extra space there. Your works cited needed some work to be MLA accurate as well. Like, for example, you would want to include the words works cited centered at the top of that page with no colon. You also want to get rid of the indent on the first line, but open up your paragraph toolbox here and go to the indentation section under special and select hanging. Okay. Then your article title goes in quotes, or excuse me, in this case that would be the video title. Then you want to have the actual website title in italics, so that would be methproject.org. And there actually is going to be a date. You need to look in the fine print at the bottom of the page for it. But even before the page, you need to include the publisher, which is in this case the Meth Project Foundation, comma, and then the date. And then instead of the URL here, you want to include the word web, and then the access date. Whichever date you actually accessed it, probably back in March sometime. And then actually in this case you can use the organization of Meth Project itself as the author. So the Meth Project Foundation is actually the author and the publisher in this case. So this would be your MLA accurate works cited there, and then you would not continue to include these page numbers at the bottom or top of every page because you've actually got them in your header now like we did before. Okay, so just jumping into your essay, one thing I'll point out is that all of your links need to be embedded in the text, and you don't want to see any URLs within your paragraph. So you would just copy that URL and then pick whichever word or words you wanted to link to there, and you could make it this entire sentence or all the information that you had from that source, and then you want to go to insert, hyperlink, and paste that under the address there. Okay, and that will make all the text itself the link, and we don't see all that complicated URL stuff there. All right, so then I do want to point out that you need to choose just one of these ads to analyze. I can see that you've thought deeply about all of them, and it's good that you have a good sense of the entire campaign, but you will be focusing your analysis on just one ad. So what you're going to do is pick the ad that you want to analyze it, introduce it briefly, and then just briefly summarize it the way you've done in one or two sentences here. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to do the losing control. You would just then introduce that in a complete sentence at the end of your introduction before you get into your first analysis point. Okay, so that summary would then be connected. And again, you want to embed this link instead of including the actual URL within the text. Okay, so then you would delete that. Okay, so then you'd have an introduction that kind of sets up the situation, introduces the ad in a complete sentence, and summarizes the ad briefly. Then what you're going to want to do in the next section of your essay is talk about the rhetorical elements that the ad uses to persuade its audience, specifically logos, ethos, and pathos. So you might have to go back to your book and to the notes from this unit to make sure that you're understanding those terms correctly. But basically you want to talk about, is the ad logical? Does it make sense to you? Is it well supported and well organized? Is the author doing a good job of pathologically connecting to the audience's emotions? And is the author doing a good job of creating their own ethical and trustworthy persona? And so then you're going to basically pull in examples from the text of each of those things as you discuss each of those rhetorical elements in separate paragraphs in the body of the essay. So that's basically what it says here. And then in the conclusion, you want to restate the rhetorical points that you've made in the body in the same order that you've discussed them in your body paragraphs, and then connect those to an overall evaluation of the persuasiveness of the ad based on those rhetorical elements. So something like, therefore, based on these appeals to logos, pathos, and ethos, I found this ad to be very persuasive. Or, therefore, based on its flaws in terms of logic, emotion, and credibility, this ad was not persuasive. You could also have a couple of strengths and a couple of weaknesses. You just need to decide overall, in the end, did you think it was mostly persuasive or mostly not persuasive? Okay, so I wasn't able to talk about the blogging conventions because you do not have a link to your actual blog posted here. So make sure you do that when you turn in the final draft, but do make sure that you have those embedded links, labels or keywords so that people can search for your blog, and then all of the header, the title, and the background formatting stuff done as well. Okay, again, sorry this was so delayed this week, but hopefully you'll be able to take these suggestions as you work to revise your essay for tonight. Let me know if you have any other questions as well. Thank you.